Here we are back on the foreshore. Just picked up this nice piece of boardware, which is a very specific shape. It's a lug from a costrel. So there's two lugs, one on either side of the neck, which you would suspend from a string or a rope and take it with you, full of water or small beer or something stronger, depending on your taste. So that's nice. That's going to be about 1550 to 1700. So white clay with a green splashed copper glaze. Another interesting bit of probably boarderware, so again sort of 1650 to 1700. This one is encrusted, so they've taken chips of flint and stuck it onto the clay and then glazed it. Probably the shape looks like a lid, I would think. Maybe the lid to a tankard, perhaps. But yeah, it's an interesting find. A piece of tile, tin glazed earthenware tile, or delftware, I suppose, but beautiful multicoloured decoration, flowers and leaves there. So just the corner of a little tile, maybe 1650 to 1750, that sort of period. We've just spotted down here a nice bit of post-medieval rim for a cooking pot with the thumbing marks around the outside. So this is decorative but also helps with lifting the pot off the fire. It's a very big heavy rim, it's a very big pot, and that's going to be 17th or 18th century, I would think. Eagle-eyed Tim has just picked up this beautiful bit of Metropolitan slipware. So it's part of a charger and then they've trailed slip onto it to make that brilliant rim pattern and then a leaf motif there. So this is made in Harlow in Essex and it dates to about 1640 to 1720. That's the period. So it's a really nice find. There we are, some more medieval pottery. This is the rim from a cooking vessel and it's got a lid seating, so it would have taken a lid, and it's got a nice speckly green copper glaze, broken into two bits, but I can glue that together. So this would be Surrey whiteware around 1350 to 1500, so that's a nice link with medieval London right there. And some more medieval. This classic medieval whiteware, Surrey whiteware, made in Cheam, Kingston, Surrey, Hampshire borders, also in London at Southwark, full of inclusions, little spots and stuff in the clay that they couldn't be bothered to sift out when they made it. But this is the base of a pot, and there's some thumbing marks where they made that thumbing round the base to give it stability. So that dates from about 1350 to 1500. And then very nearby, a British-made drain pipe. I think that's probably a bit too big to take home in my bag. But salt glazed stoneware drain pipes made from about 1850. Dalton made a whole heap. Hundreds of miles of drain pipes made every week. That's nice, that's got the maker's mark on it. This more early medieval, this has got bits of shell in it, which is a good indicator that it's an early age. Again, the rim of a cooking pot, sandy shellyware, or is it shelly sandyware? I can't remember now. But that's going to be 11th or 12th century, sort of 1050 to 1200. So it's quite early on in the history of London. We just picked up a bit of Roman London. And I'm sure you will recognise that this is a mortarium, so you've got grits on one side but not on the other. It's very water-worn, having been down here for nearly 2,000 years. But this is essentially a Roman mixing bowl where they would mix up spices and fish oil and paste to make the food that they liked. So that's a nice chunk of Roman pottery, maybe 2nd century or 3rd century, from the foreshore here in London. We're here on the Foreshore with Tim, who has come across from the States to look at a bit of history. So how, being American, did you get into this activity?
Well, actually, a gent from here in the UK named Ivor Noel Hume wrote some books, and one of the books he wrote on Williamsburg, one little chapter was about mudlarking, and as a matter of fact, according to the pictures I saw, I believe he was over there somewhere. The Millennium Bridge wasn't here yet.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and I told myself I got to do this. So about 18 months ago, I came here and spent 15 minutes on the shore by Trigg Lane. Came back, I wondered there's got to be some guys who do this on YouTube. I found Richard and have been watching his YouTubes for the last year, and absolutely, I tell all my friends this. I said, I know this guy who can pick up a piece of pottery and say, yeah, green glaze redware, little slip there, Tudor, you know, whatever. It's amazing. So I asked him to come, and Richard was gracious enough to join us today, and we had a blast. And Richard, again, looking at you in the eye, not at the camera, thank you very much. Appreciate it, sir.
Pleasure. That's
It's
okay.
been a pleasure.
Some good stuff.
Absolutely, found some great
I hope you get
stuff.
a chance to come back here.
I hope so too.
But you do find also a lot of British pottery in American context, because I know you help out with the archaeology.
I do, yeah. I volunteer at Mount Vernon Archaeology with the gang there, Lily and Sean and those guys. And I'll tell you, we do find some English wares there. Redware, a little bit of Delft, but it's nothing like here. And of course, everything there, it's cataloged, boxed up, and put away, or displayed.
It's
So
almost ancient history.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Richard. Appreciate
thank
it.
you. It's been great being on the Foreshore with you. Maybe again we can meet up sometime in the future.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Thanks, Tim.
Take care.
Okay, back home from London, and a great time we had on the Foreshore. A good time with Tim, and great to meet up with some other folk. Hello to Agnieszka and to Flora, and we also passed Lara as well, so that's great. Now we're going to wash our finds. No secret formula for washing shards. Just warm water with some washing up liquid and a toothbrush will do the job. Shards come up fairly clean from the Thames anyway, so there's not much to wash off, a bit of mud here and there. If there was some stubborn staining, you could use some bleach on some surfaces. Pottery won't be harmed by that. Borderware plate. Just dip it in some clean hot water as well. Nice bit of medieval Surrey whiteware. And the borderware rim. A little bit of tin glazed earthenware. A bit of asbestos, which we're going to throw away. Not exactly sure what that is, but we'll do some research on it. It's a bit of earthenware with some brown glaze. That's interesting. Now, I think that's probably part of a stove tile, so I'll do a little reveal on that later. Tin glazed tile. Sunderland slipware with mottled decoration, 1790 to 1900. So here we have a select group of finds from the Thames Foreshore this morning. That's rather good. Borderware encrusted top. Often mugs had covers in the 18th century, 17th century. And that has had chips of flint embedded in the clay, and then it's been glazed, which is why it's that colour. So it's called encrusted ware, and that would have been the cover to a mug for often hot liquids served in mugs, so they needed covers. Another bit of borderware there, a nice lug from a Costrel, so I'll show a picture of that presently. This mystery item is just a large rod. It's got some glaze on it, but it's not very well finished, so either it's a massive jug, but it doesn't seem to have any curve to it, or maybe a kiln support or something like that. A bit of a mystery, that one. A nice bit, I think it might be medieval glazed ware. We'll have to do a bit of checking out with that. 18th century stoneware dipped mug fragment, which is rather nice to find. I've only found a few of those. And then that, I think it is a stove tile. It's got those keying in marks there, and other stove tiles I found previously have the same keying in marks on the edges there. Pity it wasn't bigger and a bit more decorated. They normally had the Tudor or the Stuart coat of arms on them, and they would go onto high status stoves to heat your room, where you could heat your room and the stove was enclosed because the flue and the stoking hole were outside the room. Never really caught on in this country. Very high status, usually found in palaces or monasteries or rich merchants' houses. This is something a bit different, not from the Thames. It's come a long way. It was found by Tim in Carolina in the United States, and it is woodland culture Native American pottery, shell tempered, and it has the impression of a reed mat on it as decoration, and it comes from a large vessel which was used to make salt from the brackish water near the coast, and it probably dates to 1400 or before, could even be 1,000 years older than that. So that is a very nice collection, addition to my collection of pottery, and I'm very grateful.